I'm the CRM Ninja, and I'm delighted tonight to be joined by Ramon Tebar. I got that right?
Yeah, you got it right. Thank you,
Brilliant.
Wei, for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to come on. I mean, you were nominated by your fellow Spaniard, and it's always good to have other people from different backgrounds on the show. So really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome anyway.
Brilliant. So before we get into what you're going to share on the Oops Factor, I know that you're a Spaniard and that you're living in London. How would you compare London to Spain? What would you say you miss from Spain that you don't get here in London?
I think one of the main things is the weather, right? Like the sun probably is the thing that I miss more, mostly. Obviously, I mean, apart from that, my family. So my family, our family is still in back in Spain.
Okay.
Uh, so and then the food, that's the other thing as well. Like although here in London, to be honest, you can get, like any kind of food and you go to the supermarket and pretty much, like
Yep.
we are in, like it's not like you cannot get anything in, like you cannot get in Spain. Maybe, some of the vegetables and some of the fruits, they are a bit more fresh over there.
Okay.
But overall, I mean, you can cook at home similar things, right? But
True.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think family and son are two things that they are not, unfortunately, like they are not valuable here, right? For us at least.
Yes. Well, the weather is always an interesting thing here in London. But at the moment, it's actually quite nice and sunny in general. So, if you had to recommend something that you really enjoy doing here in London to a visitor coming in, what would you pick as your most favorite thing to do? And going to a bar or a pub to drink wine or beer or whatever it is does not count.
Oh, it doesn't count, then I don't have any. uh, no, I mean, I think I really like, just, especially after London a little bit, you realize that although it's a big city, you can still walk all the main center of London, just going on your feet, right? Like
Yep.
go for a walk and actually without taking the tube, you can go, like go to London Bridge, for
Yep.
example, and just from there start to walk to the Tower Bridge, by the river, all that, next to the city, and just having a walk to by the river, for example, is one of my favorite things that I normally recommend to anyone new that came to London. And especially in the summer, I think is one of the best things that you can do, right? And it's
South
such a
South
simple,
Bank on a Sunday, sort of
exactly.
late morning, early afternoon. Yeah, it's really good.
It's such a simple thing, such a simple activity. Obviously, like free, and it's one of the most enjoyable things that you can do in London. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully understand that. I've done it with my family and with friends who have come through. So, people, if you're living outside of London, if you're living inside the UK and you come to London, hit Ramon up. He can tell you where to go to, best places to walk.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Wonderful. So, thank you for sharing that with us. What do you have to share with us for your Oops Factor story?
Oh, so this is the key part, right? Like the reason we are here, right?
No, no, we're here to talk about walking around London. I could do that for hours.
No, no, definitely. So, I mean, so one of the stories, I think Mario, he nominated me because
Yep.
he like, so Mario and Marco, they were doing another like program, you want to call it, like they were doing some interviews as well, and during that Spanish interview, I mentioned a story, and I think that they like it, right? And but then when like he nominated me for this other like interview with you, another one came to my mind. So I don't know if I have too many oops, like
Uh,
factors,
pick one. Always
but
come back and do
but
another one another time.
exactly. So actually, I'm gonna share this time that other story that for me, I mean, I don't know, like there would be even a bit more oops, like in that one.
Okay.
And I think it was also a good experience from the lessons that we learned. So I'll go for it. So basically, like that story is actually now more than 10 years ago.
Okay.
That was before even I came into the dynamics world. So before I worked with CRM, I
Right.
used to be I mean, I am a .NET developer, but that's the way that I started. So back then I was a pure .NET developer,
Right.
and we were given the chance to take a project for a photo studio company, right?
Okay.
So I was, so this was, the customer was a photo studio company, and then the project was given to other, actually the main company taking that project, and we were like myself as freelance and a few more guys also, like we were taking, they were like they needed some help to develop the project, and then we took part into this project, right?
So they needed
uh,
some help in developing. They had some internal developers or something. You came in to consult and to help them with it.
yeah, exactly, pretty much. I mean, they didn't have development, a development team, and we came to help them with that part, right?
Right.
And the project, I mean, the project was very interesting. That's kind of also the reason because we decided to join the project, because it was a photo app, like the typical one that like you go to one of these photo studio and it will take a picture of you, and you can apply some effects, and then you can print
Yes.
the copy that you want in different formats, right? So yes, I was saying that. So this was this project for this photo studio company, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and it was quite cool project, because it was like this. It will be this application that you will go to the studio and you would choose the picture that you want to print, different
Yeah.
format, apply effects, like remove the red eye and a few more, like filters, right?
Yes. The sort of thing
All
that
the,
you could possibly do on your mobile phone nowadays.
exactly, all those things that now we see in our mobile phones so normal, and it became obviously like quite a standard. 11 years ago, there were not as many resources. There was not as much as information to actually do these things,
Yeah.
and there is a lot of like algorithms to actually apply those filters and things like that in a photo.
Sure.
It requires some complexity, right? It has some.
Nowadays, you can build these things with drag and drop components in most places, but then you really had to code everything in place.
Exactly. So, but in this case, we have to actually code those things, right? And I mean, we have some experience doing that, like going through like a picture, like which a picture is a matrix, and you
Yeah.
need to go pixel by pixel, and then you understand, like the information in there, like the colors,
Yes.
and then if you look at the pixels around, then you can start to understand other information around the shapes and things like that.
Yeah.
So we had some experience with that, and that's the reason that we went into this project.
Okay.
So initially we were supposed to just develop that part of the project, like the client application,
Right.
and because it was a project with this guy that we knew, there was some like some trust in somehow,
Okay.
which probably we overestimate, and that was again going later on into the lessons like to learn.
Yep.
That was one of them. Like we didn't formalize much of probably what exactly were the expectation of
Got it.
to exactly. So for example, in this client application, like we were doing initially some effects, but like how many exactly, like will be, like the
You
effects
didn't
that
have
will
a clear statement of work and the scope and everything you were supposed to do.
exactly, yeah. Like the user experience, like where the buttons they would be placed exactly, right?
Yeah.
Like the colors to be used, like those. Initially, we didn't give much, like importance to these, like properties.
Yeah.
But it became obviously user experience is a big thing, and that's one of the things that we learn as
Yes.
well. Like, don't
That's very
underestimate
true.
the
So you were
user
on this
experience.
project and you didn't have a proper, statement of work and scope and stuff. So what
Yeah.
happened?
So that was just the beginning. Like then suddenly, like one of the things that we asked, and I think that was definitely we tried to understand at the beginning, was what happened about the server side, right? Because the server side was even more interesting. You could say, because there was this big machine that you have in a photo studio, like
Yeah.
4 or 5 meter machines that can print pictures like in so many different shapes
Yes.
very quickly in a high quality, right?
I
So
worked in a
this,
photo studio for work experience probably almost 2 decades ago. So I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so this to communicate with these machines, they have their own protocols, right?
Yeah.
And initially, we were supposed to say, yeah, don't worry about you just do the client application. You send the picture in a, in SFTP or something like that, and the rest it will happen, right? And it's like, okay. But then it was like, oh no, actually, like you remember that protocol that the machine, like using, it's a standard. Don't worry, like you
Everything will be fine. It's
I'm gonna
okay. I
I'm
mean,
gonna
it's
need you.
standard, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to also develop like a server component, like a service that you're gonna, communicate with your client application and then send the picture to the
Yeah.
machine using this protocol. And it's like, okay, like that this is now the scope is growing, right? Like you understand that, like, okay, yeah, but it's very simple, no worries. Okay, like, let's have a look to that protocol. So we start to, like Google trying to find that standard public protocol.
Yeah.
There was no information about it. Like it was so difficult to find that. We have to contact someone in US to actually get the specification, like hundred
To
of
contact the manufacturer for the machines and somebody in the team to
pretty,
get.
pretty much at the end. That was the thing, right? And at the end, what we have back is a PDF document with like binary specification of what you have to send, and it's like, wow. So this is the standard protocol that you want us to implement, right? Like, do you realize that only this is a huge project in itself, right? So all these things, like start to stack up all the, like the arguments, the tension, right? And to
Yeah.
the point that the project exploded, right? Like there was no way to. I mean, the project was still very interesting, right? But in terms of, like the expectation of from the beginning to what it was at that point,
Yeah.
the budgets, the estimations, everything, like it was, like explode, right? So
Yeah.
and so yeah, so that was, I mean, one of the hardest project. It was great project from the lessons to learn, and from the actual technology that we try around.
Right.
From the results, like it was one of those oops, right? Like
So
definitely an
so
open.
so share with us what lessons you learned from it that when you went into project since. And I mean, as you said, it was a decade ago or more. So you've had quite a few projects since. What lessons did you take out of it that you applied forward?
So I mean, definitely one of the lessons is like there was no like a proper estimation based on
Okay.
some initial discovery phase or something like that we should have done, or they should have done. Like someone should have actually explored a bit more, like about the project,
Yeah.
that we're going to do this, but before committing into something that big, give us some time to actually, do some research, really, right?
You need to
And
know
based
what
on
you're
that,
actually going to be doing.
exactly, and based on that initial discovery or research, phase, then you can kind of scope the rest of the things that are coming, right?
Yeah. No,
Um,
very, very true. And
so
part of the thing when I go into projects myself is I tell clients we need to have a discovery phase. We can work out how long it will be and what it will cost, but you need to have a discovery phase because
yeah,
you can't quote otherwise. You don't know what there is.
I mean, if you're gonna do a particular project that is pretty much the same that you have done for another 20 times,
Yeah.
fine, you can probably like take the risk and go for it, right? But even then, there are always some things that that they are assumed, there are assumptions that people have things in their head that they don't tell you. So
Yes.
don't underestimate that part, right?
Every client has their own little quirks.
Definitely. And then again, things like, I don't know, like there is a phrase says that familiarity breeds contempt, right?
Yeah.
And I think that a little bit of that happened as well with like we were working with these guys, that we know each other, and I think because of that we then formalize some of the like
Yeah.
how the agreement between us and the customer, and that also didn't help at all, right? Like even you are working with some people, like some friends who like whatever, try to be professional, formalize a little bit, what you are doing, what is expected from the different parties,
Yeah.
and that in the worst case you won't need it, but if things are going, like getting a bit challenging, that it will help you to at least sit down and have a good conversation, right?
Definitely. No, it's very important to have that in place. I mean, I know a lot of people within the community, outside of the community, who are IT people who don't do IT for their family and their friends because you don't want to cause any problems if something doesn't work out correctly. And you can't sit down and formalize this, in the way that you would do to a client. But no, very, very important to with a client, to make sure everything's formalized, scope, change management, all the rest of that in a nice way. But it's
Yeah,
important to have it there.
definitely, yeah. And
Brilliant.
again, especially if it is for technologies that you don't know, you are getting into them, right? Like that's very important.
Yeah, fully agree. Well, thank you so much for coming along and sharing that with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hope that like help someone in the industry to avoid
I'm,
those mistakes.
I'm, I'm sure it will. Now, who would you like? You of course, were nominated to appear on the show. Who would you nominate that you want to see come on the show?
So I think I mentioned I was in this previous interview with Mario and Marco. So I don't know
Right?
if Marco has been nominated before or he has been in the show.
No, I don't think
But
so. Mario has, Marco hasn't.
okay, so let's go for Marco. Marco Amoedo. That's his name.
No
Yeah,
problem. I will touch base with you offline to get his details. And
perfect.
Mario, you have been nominated. Not Mario, sorry, Marco. Marco, yeah,
Marco.
it's
Yeah.
been a long day. Marco, you've been nominated.
No worries.
Wonderful.
No.
Well, once again, thank you so much. Viewers, we hope that you've enjoyed the episode and learnt one or two valuable lessons from it. Please feel free to check out the rest of the Oops Flagter playlist and to subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.